Gwen, Preston of Resource Maven. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto in March, and I'm joined by Peter Akerley of Erdene Resource Development.
Hi, Gwen.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
You were probably just in Mongolia because you're always just in Mongolia, it seems
That's
like.
right. I just came back a week ago today, and just came back from Canada-Mongolia friendship hockey game, actually.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I know you're really into hockey.
Yeah, it's been a lot of hockey this year. I have a couple kids playing hockey, and the Canadian government actually has sponsored a program to bring gear to young hockey players in Canada.
In Mongolia?
Yeah. Supported by a group out of Vancouver. So we brought over 1,000 sets of gear and provided those to young players in Mongolia.
Oh, fun, huh? I mean, it's an odd segue, but it totally works. I mean, your commitment to Mongolia is very long-standing. You've been working in this country for 2 decades. You obviously are very closely tied, know a lot of people, and know the geology perhaps better than anyone, which brings us to Bayan Khundii, which is the project that you're most focused on. So,
right.
Bayan Khundii, sorry, I'm going to take a moment, but Bayan Khundii, it fits the characteristics that I like at this stage in the market, which is like, it's a strong asset in that it's got a great resource, you're de-risking it, you're advancing it, you're showing that it works as is.
Yep.
But then there's also this exploration. So I call it strong and splashy. There's also this exploration upside that very much still exists, which is great. And your challenge, I'm sure, is trying to balance those 2 aspects.
That's right. And we do have the luxury of a brand new region that's never seen modern exploration before. So we have this core, as you said, at Bayan Khundii, which is near 1 million ounces of 3 grams open pitable material between Bayan Khundii and Altan Nar. In this market, my view is that the best value we can generate from the shareholders' investments that we've taken in is to de-risk that current asset.
Right.
We know the exploration is going to be there. It's not going to go away. We have our eye on some acquisitions in the vicinity that are coming open, we expect, through the Mongolian tendering process. So we're kind of holding our powder a bit dry for that eventuality, and really looking at the de-risking. In the next couple of weeks, we'll identify the lead engineering firm for our pre-feasibility.
Okay.
We have launched our mining license application for the Bayan Khundii license. That'll be closely followed by the Altan Nar license application.
Right.
Those 3 events we expect to come to a close by 3rd quarter of this year. At the same time, sort of behind the scenes, we're doing all the necessary work for the permitting to move this towards a stage where you can press go on development when that time comes.
Right.
So a lot of work behind the scenes. A great team that we've continued to build this year with the addition of some people with mining experience in Mongolia, mine building experience. So I kind of look at that as one box, and over on the other side, our exploration team continues to work through the data that we've generated and identify some areas that we'll begin doing some drilling on in April.
Okay.
And that'll move from the vicinity of the pit, kind of shadow of the head frame, if you will, right out into the greater district where we're looking at these other opportunities. But I'm no less excited than I was when I stepped off a plane in 1997 looking at this district and thinking the giants that exist here. When you look at the central orogenic belt, Morantau, Sukolog, Oyu-Tolgoi, and we're in the middle of that trend where there's been a vacuum of exploration. It's just so exciting.
Yeah.
But we'll bide our time. You kind of have to play a bit of the rope-a-dope in this business, and you work hard on the exploration side when the dollars are available at low dilution, and in the meantime, when it's not, you tend to focus inwards and de-risk what you have.
Absolutely. And what you have, plays in well to that exploration regional play as well, because the mine plan that you've developed at Bayan Khundii is likely like a central processing facility for what is already a high-grade open pit situation, but and Altan Nar is already looks like a satellite that would feed into that.
That's right.
And so identifying more opportunities in the area just adds to that situation, and it's easy to see how that would grow very organically.
Right. Yeah, and we've been, I think, very conservative in our first pass to just bring in the highest grade, simplest ores to that plant. We have, I think, about 500,000 ounces feed going into that CIP plant, and we're taking out of that about 406,000 ounces. But there is 900,000 ounces of 3-gram material sitting in the top 150 meters of these 2 deposits, and intersections around that, which are, for example, running up to 30 meters of 4 grams that aren't in the pit.
Right.
So, there's lots of room for expansion here. I just felt, as we moved into the latter part of last year, we really were seeing the market turn away from giving value to exploration companies. So I think this path is the right thing for us to be following at this point in time.
And I would say also, given you've been answering questions about Mongolia for 20 years, investors' questions and whatnot, I certainly am of the opinion that once you develop enough scale and demonstrate enough functionality of the situation, that there are many mid-tiers and majors who would be interested in setting up a new situation in Mongolia.
Absolutely.
And so this whole de-risking is part of that process.
Yes, and a lot of people look at it from the West saying, you need to have scale, and we ultimately realize the scale will bring greater value. But if you want to open a open pit mine in Mongolia today, 50,000 ounces, there's precedents out there.
Right.
There's a mine in northwestern Mongolia that's generating $20 million a year in free cash flow. That's 50,000 ounces per year.
Right.
So we're not doing something different. In fact, I argue with people that the location we have, 200 kilometers from the Chinese border, is a better location in many respects than being 200 kilometers north of Timmins. From a permitting perspective, the rapid growth of infrastructure coming in from China, the low labor costs, the low contract mining costs, there's all kinds of positives that we have that I think aren't necessarily recognized by investors yet.
Yeah. Well, I know also you know the rocks of Mongolia almost, you and your team know the rocks of Mongolia almost better than anyone, and so the fact that new government ground is opening up for tender, I'm sure you're also pretty excited about the potential there. Very
much so. When you look at the time I spent in Mongolia, my enthusiasm hasn't waned at all for what's out there. When we're looking at these giant deposits, as these tenders open up, we know these areas almost like the back of our hand. We've spent millions and millions of dollars exploring them. We know where the prospects are we want to acquire. We'll be patient, careful, but whether we acquire them in the primary or secondary market, we believe we can add significant value to the corporation over time.
That's exciting. And then you get asked about Mongolia all the time and things like, I think Mongolia is an interesting case study. Increasingly in mining across the world, social license to operate is more and more important, and perhaps is the most important thing now. Your long tenure in Mongolia and the work that you've done there, I think, puts you in good stead in that regard. Yeah,
and I think there's really two parts to that. I think you have to build a team that really does want to give back. It has to be part of the DNA that you make a difference. You're welcomed into a host country, and I think you have to respect the fact that you're there bringing value into that country, and it needs to come into the local communities. And so from the very beginning at exploration right through to the development phase, we're constantly thinking about how can we add value in that local community. Yeah. And that obviously plays a role in having the social license to operate credibility when it comes time to get your permits and to get your additional licenses. Yeah. So they should go hand in hand, where it is something you want to do and it'll make a difference in creating value as you move forward. I saw an article on the way up in the plane where 55% of the respondents, when asked what the most difficult challenge is getting from exploration to mining, it's social license to operate. So it's critical in our industry today. Absolutely.
Well, I'm excited to hear what Erdene can come up with over the next year. There's a lot going on with de-risking the asset and acquiring new ground and the exploration as well. So I look forward to keeping in touch.
Thanks, Gwen.
Thanks.